Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotra Shata Shishimata Abhay Charananda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamritam Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai All glories to the Assembly devotees, all glories to the Assembly devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare You showed it verse number 6, number 9. Say Krishna Avatirna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Say Parikaragan Sange Savadhanya Say Krishna Avatirna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Say Parikaragan Sange Savadhanya Somebody else?
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Say Parikaragana Sange Savadhanya
Parikaragana Sange Savadhanya
Say Krishna Abhikena Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Say Krishna Avatirna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Say Parikaragana Sange Savadhanya Mataji
Say Krishna Avatirna Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Say Krishna Avatirna Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Say Parikaragana Sange Savadhanya
Say Krishna Avatirna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Say Parikaragana Sange Savadhanya Say Krishna, that very Lord Krishna, Avatirna, has advented. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Say, those Parikaragan, associates, Sanghe, with him, Sabha, all, Dhanya, glorious. Translation. The self-same Lord Krishna has advented himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all his eternal associates, who are also equally glorious. Text number 10. Ekale Ishvara Tattva Chaitanya Ishvara. Bhakta Bhava Maya Tandra Sudha Kalevara. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Controller, the one personality of Godhead, has ecstatically become a devotee. Yet his body is transcendental and not materially tinged. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There are different tattvas, or truth, including Isha Tattva, Jiva Tattva, and Shakti Tattva. Isha Tattva refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Vishnu, who is the Supreme Living Force. In the Katha Upanishad, it is said, Nitya Nityananam, Chetanas Chetananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Eternal and the Supreme Living Force. The living entities are also eternal and are also living forces, but they are very minute in quantity, whereas the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Living Force and the Supreme Eternal. The Supreme Eternal never accepts body of a temporary material nature, whereas the living entity, who are parts and parcel of the Supreme Eternal, are prone to do so. Thus, according to the Vedic mantras, the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Master of innumerable living entities. The Mayavadi philosophers, however, try to equate the minute living entities with the Supreme Living Entity, because they recognize no distinction between them. Their philosophy is called Advaitavada or monism. Factually, however, there is a distinction. This verse is especially meant to impart to the Mayavadi philosopher the understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Controller. The Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead, is Krishna himself, but as transcendental pastime, he has accepted the form of a devotee, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, comes to this planet, exactly like a human being, some rascals consider him to be one of the ordinary humans. One who thinks in that mistaken way is described as mudha, or foolish. Therefore, one should not foolishly consider Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an ordinary human being. He has accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, but he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there have been many imitation incarnations of Krishna who cannot understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself and not an ordinary human being. Less intelligent men create their own gods by advertising a human being as God. This is their mistake. Therefore, here the words Tandra Shuddha Kalevar warn that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body is not material but purely spiritual. One should not therefore accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary devotee. Although he has assumed the form of a devotee, yet one must certainly know that although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he accepted the ecstasy of a devotee, one should not misunderstand his pastimes and place him in exactly the same position as Krishna. It is for this reason only that when Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as Krishna or Vishnu, he blocked his ears, not wanting to hear himself addressed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a class of devotees called Gauranga Nagari who stage plays of Krishna's pastimes using a vigraha or form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a mistake that is technically called rasa bhasa. While Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to enjoy as a devotee, one should not disturb him by addressing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Say Krishna Vatirna, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, say Parikaragan, Sangi Sabdhanya. The self-same Lord Krishna advented himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all his eternal associates, who are also equally glorious. Ekale Ishvara Tattva Chaitanya Ishvar, Bhakta Bhavamaya Tandra Shuddha Kalivar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Controller, is one personality of Godhead, has ecstatically become a devotee, yet his body is transcendental and not materially tinged. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vadi Paschatya Deshakarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namasrishtam manumapi sachiputra matra svarupam rupam tasyagrajam urupurim madhurim goshtavatim Radha kundagiri varamaho radhika madhavasham prapto yasya prathita kripaya Shri gurum tam natosmi. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Yantah Pravishya Mama Vachim Imam Prasuptam Sanjivayata Kila Shakti Darak Svadam Nanyam Shahasta Charana Shravanatva Gadim Prananamo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Svasyastu Vishwasya Kalach Prasidatam Dayantu Bhutani Shivam Mithodya Manascha Badram Bhajarata Udokshaja Aveshyatam Naumati Rabhyahai. Hare Krishna. So we're reading the 7th chapter of the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya in 5 features, which summarizes the introduction to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Initially, Krishnadas Kaviraja Goswami, who is writing this monumental work about the philosophy and the life of Lord Chaitanya, introduced Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita with 14 verses which comply, or which is the Mangala Charana for the whole work. And then he elaborately explained all the verses which which compose this Mangala Charana. So he's now explaining the last verse of this Mangala Charana, Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavatara Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam, which explains that the complete conception of God includes 5 features. We all know that God is one, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. So, yeah, God is one. But sometimes this one personality or this one tattva, this one truth, presents himself in 2 as Radha and Krishna. Sometimes this one